Hello everyone, in this video we are going to retarget animation from one rig to another. Since we will be using character with different body proportions, I'll also show you how to adjust the animation so it fits properly. Before we start, just a quick heads up, you only need to complete step 4 and 5 if you plan to use the Rigify Convert feature. So here is my sample model. As you can see, it has a lot of bones, like hair and skirt, but we only need the humanoid ones, so I'll isolate those first before we get started. Let's go to the preferences and then add-on. We're going to install the retargeting plugin. I'm using the Rococo Studio Live Blender add-on, which is you can download it from this GitHub link. At the time this video was uploaded, the latest version is 1.4.3 and it's compatible with Blender 4.5. After you download the plugin, click this button, then install from disk. Then choose the zip file plugin. Once it's installed, you'll need to sign in with a Rococo account. Don't worry, it's completely free. After you've logged in, you should see this message, and then you are ready to go. Here you can see immediately the retargeting section, which is the only part we are going to use from this plugin. I'm going to use Mixamo for the animation sample. Then I'm going to use angry animation. On the right side, you can see some parameter. You can try tweak it however you'd like, but I'm just going to use their default. Then straight up download it in FBX binary 30 FPS with their skin. Oh yeah, one more thing, feel free to use other animation sample like from mocap or any other source. As long as it's humanoid, it should be okay. For the FBX import settings, it's just default, so you can just import it immediately. Then you are good to go. Okay, next is we're going to install the Mixamo Auto Rigging plugin, but this is needed only if you want the Mixamo Rigify result. So if it's only for game engine, you don't need to install this plugin. There is two sources for the plugin download. It's from Blender website and GitHub. Any version is fine. The size is a bit different though, but their function is still the same. Install it like usual, then it's ready to use. For those who want to convert this animation to a Mixamo Rigify Armature later, you will first need to rename all of the humanoid bones so they match the Mixamo Armature. After both Armature in the edit mode, we basically just copy Mixamo bone's name, then paste it to the sample bone like this. Also, make sure the bone roll values match as well. Then you need to do this to all of your humanoid bones. Yep, I know it's pretty tedious process, but the good news is it's not actually difficult, right? It just takes a bit of patience. Oh, one more thing. You will probably notice that the Mixamo humanoid armature has a few extra bones at their edge here. These are called leaf bones, and it's perfectly fine to remove them. Yep, that's basically all there is to it. First, make sure your animation source armature is in its rest pose, the A pose or T pose. Based on my experience, this is the ideal approach and helps avoid many retargeting issues. If your rest pose isn't a T pose, simply switch to pose mode and manually put the armature into a T pose. Then add some keyframe for it. Okay, let's continue. After it's on the rest position, scale the animated armature to fit your model. Then open the Rococo plugin in the sidebar. Straight up into the retargeting section, then select the source object to armature that have animation, then the target is your model sample armature. Then just click the build bone list button. The plugin will automatically detect the bone for retargeting. Now, because this is automatically detected, it's best that we recheck every single bone that is listed. Because sometimes some bones are selected twice, selected incorrectly, or not selected at all. Fortunately, in my sample model there is nothing wrong. If you see some missing bone, you can add it through the Add Custom Entry button. You will see this new empty bone field. Set the left field your source armature bone and the right field is your model armature bone target. Oh, by the way, if you see this kind of empty field, we cannot remove it, but that's okay, cause it would not affect anything as long as it's empty. Next is the pose. Choose the same type pose you select from the Armature pose properties. Then finally, we can just click the retarget animation button and wait for a moment. After it done, you should see some message down here. And your sample model should have the retargeted animation ready. Now you can delete the source animation Armature. And also, I usually do a little bit cleanup. Basically, just go to the Blender file display mode and delete the animation and armature that comes from the source Armature. Alright, we have the retarget animation, but you might have inaccurate part, like my arm sample model here. No worries, that is easy to fix. So we're going to adjust the animation with some constraint. First, we need an object for the constraint source. I'm going to use the arrow empty object. To be honest, any empty object is fine. Scale the guy down a bit. Then, if you want, you can rename it. Usually, I rename it to match the bone I'm planning to apply the constraint to. I'm going to modify 3 bone later, so I make 3 empty object. Next, you want to add keyframes to each empty object, so you can quickly build up the animation using Action Editor. Next is select the Armature object, then go to the pose mode. Now we want to add the constraint to the bone we want to control. First is the arm, select it, then go to the bone constraint menu here. Add some copy rotation from the transform section. Why copy rotation? Well, because we just want to fix the error rotation. Choose target the empty object we have created, and you can see the armature bone is rotate immediately. Then we just need to change the mix to after original. So basically, the empty object works like an extra rotation layer on top of the bone's existing animation. So yeah, it doesn't replace the bone's rotation, it just adds to it, or you could say it offsets the result. Do the same thing to every bone you want. Finally, we can start adjust the animation. Let's start with the upper arm. First, find the starting point where the pose is error. In my case, it's from the first frame. Let's try rotate the upper arm empty object. As you can see, it rotates the bone as well. It doesn't rotate the same way as the bone axis. Instead, it follows the gizmo's axis direction. So in this part, we're going to rotate the empty object around the x-axis. Then just add a keyframe to the empty object. After that, go to the next error pose. In my case, in this pose previously is not error. So that means the empty object just needs 0 offset rotation. Just Alt-R it, then insert the keyframe again. So yeah, all you need to do is just fix the error key pose. If you do it correctly, the transition will automatically fix as well. Oh, one more thing. When you're working on a seamless loop animation and you change the pose in the first frame, you will also need to match that exact change in the last frame, so it keeps the loop smooth and continuous. Now we are done adjusting our animation. Before we use it, we need to bake it. Basically, this change will apply directly to the animation action, so we no longer need the empty object. Okay, first go to the pose mode, then isolate the bone you want to bake. We just want the bone that has the empty object constraint previously. Then go to the header pose tab up here, animation, bake action. This window will pop up. This is basically asking you where the baking should start and end. In my case, it's all frame. But if you're only baking a small section, like from the middle to near the end, or just 30 frames out of 500, this makes a difference. Setting the exact bake start and end frames can save you time. Next is the frame step. I usually just leave it at 1. This settings basically skips frame based on the value you choose. Visual keying is responsible for applying the change made by the constraint, so this needs to be enabled. Next is clear constraint. This should also be enabled, especially when visual keying is turned on. And then clear appearance. This is used if your armature has an object parent. I usually enable it anyway. Override current action is pretty much self-explanatory. If enabled, the bake animation will replace the current selected action. And last one is clean curves. We'll see what I mean later. Next is bake data. It's pose, that's what we are doing right now. Object is for whole object, not armature bone. Then for the channel, it should only be rotation. Why? Because we only modified the rotation through the empty object constraint, right? But I'm going to show you what happens if you check the other channels too. Press OK. There you go, you will see this result. This is what Clean Curves does. It simplifies the keyframes, but it can also make your animation slightly less detailed. If you don't enable Clean Curves, this is what happens to the keyframes. Blender will fill the dopseed from the start frame all the way to the end frame. This happens because the rotation constraint value changes on every frame. So yeah, it doesn't care even if it's like normal linear interpolation between two keyframes. It still creates a keyframe on every frame. In general though, the difference is usually not too significant. Also, less keyframes equals smaller size. So yeah. This one is what will happen if you bake the channel that is not really animated. This just take more baking time and just making the size bigger. Yeah, we don't want this, so let's just delete it. Alright, cool. Now we can delete the empty object and clean up a bit. Then your animation here is ready to use. Before you performing this step, you will need to rename and adjust your armature bones to match Mixamo's bone format. Okay, after you're done baking up your Blender file, we can just go straight up to the Mixamo sidebar. Select your armature, then just click the Create Control Rig. Check whatever you need here. I'm just going to check all of it, then press OK. Wait a bit. There you go. You might see some weird part, like in my case here. This is because the IK option we checked earlier. We can fix this in almost the same way as we did with the constraint setup earlier too. Or some IK bone is can immediately fix by just deleting the keyframe, like this shoulder bone in my case. Yep, that's pretty much it. There is another thing you can explore with Mixamo 2 Rigify setup. It's using the transform constraint to create more advanced relationship between the controls and bones. Yep, it's pretty much the same way with how we adjust animation. Once again, hope you learned something new. Thanks for watching and cheers! A huge thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters. Your support truly helps me continue creating content like this. Thank you so much.